prior to the election, you had the Committee for the Responsible Federal Budget saying that you would really have an administration with the proposed policies ahead that would add $7.5 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. How do you start to trim that fat? I mean, how do you start to bring that number down?
So here's the question. How much did both candidates run on a strategy of promise the world and then deliver reality post-election? I mean, neither party had a compelling story as to how they were going to put America's fiscal house in order. And I think it's very difficult to have judged either Vice President Harris or President Trump on the merits of their economic policy, because neither set forth a plan that was substantive, tangible, and would achieve the results that we need for the American people. And I think that's part of the reason that, for example, the Secretary of Treasury is so important, the role of the Senate, the role of the House. We're going to have to see the Republicans govern and make some very difficult decisions about where to cut, what tax cuts, if any, happen or are maintained. Like, we've got to put the fiscal house in order. And these are really unpopular decisions for politicians to make.
A big part of that $7.5 trillion projection really does come from tax cuts, more than you've seen in 2017. Do you think any of those can get done with where the deficit stands today? Of course, this administration is very different than when we saw Trump back then, given the size of the deficit ballooning.
So in both scenarios, Trump has inherited the following problem. American productivity is below where it needs to be for us to deliver on the promises that we have delivered to our retirees and our forthcoming retirees. Like, there's no way out of our current situation in terms of the promises that we've made other than to get American productivity up. I think in the first set of tax cuts, and to be clear, I think Trump made a bet. If we cut taxes, if we incentivize corporations and investors to take more risk, to put more money into R&D, to put more money into capital, to put more money into software and to modernize their businesses, we will get the productivity gains that we need. Now, we'll never know the answer to that because the pandemic hit shortly thereafter. Like, we just won't know. And then the Biden administration, I think one of the real challenges for American business is the Biden administration was 4 years of extremely difficult regulatory policy and an extremely activist, both DOJ and FTC, that really struck at the core of America's competitiveness and our ability to increase productivity. So the big problem is we've got to get productivity growing. I don't think we have the fiscal room to cut taxes from where they are today. And I think there's a real question about where do we need to raise taxes to start to put our house in order.
What's the answer to that?
It's going to come down to what the spending side looks like. So you've got, it's like any profit and loss statement. We've got a spending side, we have a revenue side, and the question is, what cuts are we willing to make on the spending side? But somebody's going to have to take out a piece of paper and a pencil, and just like every American household does, we're going to have to find a much closer to balancing the budget solution than what we've lived through over the last 4 years.